Shantae Barnes, and I am the co-founder and CEO of Barnes Brothers Books. And if you know anything about my company, you know Barnes Brothers Books was named after my two sons. Who are you?
Jeremiah, James.
And because my husband and I decided to name our company after our two sons, we thought it would be fitting that the first two books our company published, which is My Family's Great Smoky Mountain Adventure by Jeremiah, and Ghost Text by James would be the kind of flagship or the first two books. But I'm also an educator. So the majority of my career, I was an English teacher. And I always told my students, good writers are good readers. And if you are going to write books, you should be an avid reader of books. So what we're going to start doing moving forward is not only tell you about our books, but we're going to tell you about the books that we like to read and do book talks and have conversations about books. And yes, the mission of our company is diverse books for all readers, but we also know there's a diverse readers. And so I also want you to know that people of all backgrounds read all different types of books, and that's what we hope to add to our company, just a conversation about reading. And after I was an English teacher, I taught English for 9 years. One of those years I coached teachers in literacy and taught, and then I did 3 years of coaching. So as a literacy coach, I know it's super important to make sure that there's books in homes, that kids have opportunity to talk. And I also want to offer, how do you do that as a family? So, as you guys know, last week was Thanksgiving. And I know everyone doesn't celebrate Thanksgiving. Even in my family, Thanksgiving is really just a time to come together and fellowship and be thankful for what we have. We don't celebrate in a way that you may think of turkeys and all those other types of things. We don't really do it that way. But we live in Indiana, and my husband's family is in Mississippi, or at least his father's side. So we rotate. Sometimes we're here for certain holidays, sometimes we're there. This year we went down to Mississippi, and it's a 12-hour drive from where we are in Indiana to there in Mississippi. And so it's like, what do we do on the trip? And so I decided that I wanted us to read this book. This book is A Christmas Carols by Charles Dickens, and it's one of my favorite books to read. So much so that when I was a second-year teacher in the classroom, it's one of the novels I included in my class because I really wanted to share why I love this book with students. And I did get some pushback from some parents, a few, two to be exact, because it says Christmas. And whether you believe or celebrate Christmas as a holiday, what I like about the story is the message that's in the story. So my sons, they are twins, if you haven't figured it out by the similarities in their faces, and they're in 3rd grade. And this book right here, you're like, well, that's not really a 3rd grade book. How can you read it? My sons also read above grade level. They currently, as their last test was identified to read at a 5th grade level. And even with that, you're probably like, hey, so what we ended up doing, we listened to the audio and then we also had the book. And this book is divided into 5 chapters, right? And so as we were reading the book, because I'm a teacher, I would stop the audio and we would talk. And then I thought, that's great. We talked about the book, but then I also got this book. And this is Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, a graphic novel. And what I really liked about getting the graphic novel is that my sons were able to really see the book in a different format. And do you guys like graphic novels?
Yes.
They like graphic novels a lot. And I'm just going to pause right here. Graphic novels, they are real books. Because I really don't like it when teachers or parents feel like a child's not reading because they're reading a graphic novel. Or they'll say things like, oh, you're letting students read comics. Because that's what I would get from parents. But I said, what do you want? Do you want a child that reads, or do you want a child that does not read? And if graphic novels is the way that they read, or is the gateway to them reading something else, then let them do it. So I'm going to ask my boys to tell you a little bit now. This is a popular story, so you probably know how the story goes. So when we do future book talk, we won't get into all the details. We don't want to spoil the book, but this is a commonly known story. So when we read this book, James, what do you think about this book overall?
Well, I think it has funny parts, sad parts, and happy parts.
funny parts, sad parts, and happy parts. Do you have like a favorite part of this story?
Yes.
What was your favorite part?
My favorite part was how he was very mad.
How? Who was very mad?
Scrooge was very mad at his nephew for being so happy at Christmas.
Yeah, in the beginning of the book, there's a part in the book where Scrooge says that, there was these guys. Remember the guys? They were trying to get him to give donations,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Aren't there workhouses? Like, pretty much, aren't there places for the poor people to go? Why are you asking me for money? I fund those places. Send them to go there." And the guy's like, "Well, some of those people would rather die." And Scrooge is like, "Well, they better die and decrease the surplus population." And when I used this novel in class, I would pull that quote out and I said, "What do you guys think about that?" And kids were like, one kid, I remember he said, "Scrooge was tripping, Mrs. Barnes. Like, who says that stuff?" But then I pushed back. I said, "But do we have people like that?" Then I did a correlation. I said, "Well, there's people that are on the corner with signs, right? How do you give them money? Have you heard your parents say that they should go to, where we're at, there's the Wheeler Mission. It's a shelter where people can go to. Have you heard them say, well, they should go down to Wheeler Mission?" And so, isn't that similar? And then students really start to think about why people may say things like that. So you have a conversation. Jeremiah, what do you think about this book, Christmas Carol?
I think it's pretty funny. Some parts are kind of weird to me though.
What was something that you found weird or odd?
That he was always angry and he didn't help people even though he was like basically the richest person in town. And he was always grumpy.
Yeah, and I think, because I talk to my students about, and I talk to my sons about, like, money doesn't always bring people happiness. You could have everything and you're still not happy. And then remember when the Ghost of Christmas Past came and they took him back to his past, you could see these things that happened over time where he was one way and then he just kind of changed. And so you talk about, like, everybody has a story. What is that person's story? Why is that person so mean? Why do you have people that we refer to as humbugs that just are like all the time? So if you are a parent and you want to read a book, like, how do you do it? So one of the things I say, there are right there questions. So those basic comprehension right there in the text. So the beginning of the story, it says Marley. He was dead as a doornail. And if you know Charles Dickens, you know that he gives all this extra detail to make sure you understand it. And he goes on to say, this is an important concept for you to understand, because essentially he's saying, you have to understand that he's dead. So when he appears in the story, you're like, hey, this is odd, right? So right there in the text question would be, who died? Who was the person that died? If your child comes back and doesn't know, then you can use your strategy says, okay, let's go back and reread that to figure out who died, because that's what teachers say. So that's one way. And then talking about the theme. So like I just talked to them about the fact that a person has a story. They have a reason for being that way. And so that is something you can kind of have conversations about. So we will listen to the book while Daddy was driving, because I did not drive. And we would stop and we would talk about the book. But you guys also, and I did too, read the graphic novel. So what do you think about listening to the book and looking at the book versus the graphic novel? What did you like about this graphic novel?
What I liked about the graphic novel was that it showed pictures. So it would give me an idea of what the Ghost of Christmas Past, the Ghost of Christmas Future, and the Ghost of Christmas Present.
So it kind of gave you a visual to go along with the pictures you were developing in your head?
Yes.
What did you like in particular about this graphic novel?
I liked that, this book.
Yeah.
I don't know if it has pictures.
Yeah, not just in the front.
Well, it doesn't have pictures the way you would have to visualize it, but this one has pictures in the whole entire thing, which is why I really like it. Also because I
I've read like 8 books with no pictures.
Yeah, and I think it doesn't matter how old you are. Sometimes we just want a visual. I think about my husband. My husband reads tons of comic books, and I mean, my husband's 37, and they have pictures, and there's nothing wrong with it. I actually really enjoy looking at this because what I really enjoyed, and I don't know how well you can see, is I enjoyed like the little text bubbles, and then they had captions like the narration, and so it gave you like depths of the story. And you can kind of see, like, because in my mind, I may have thought about the Ghost of Christmas Present one way, and then you see here. And the other thing is, in a graphic novel, because they kind of took the story and moved into a graphic novel, they didn't include every single element, but the pictures told so much more of the story, then you didn't have to have all of the words. And so sometimes you have children that struggle with reading stamina, the ability to kind of stick with the text and keep reading this. This kind of gives those children bite-sized chunks of text to kind of take in, and then you have that picture that supports, especially if you're a language learner and you're learning or you're reading in a language that's not your native language. So tomorrow, we're going to consume this story in a third way. We are going to the theater tomorrow, and we're going to see A Christmas Carol at IRT. That's the Indiana Repertory Theater. And I love to go to the theater, and I'm bringing them, and we're doing a family event, so we'll actually get to see it on stage. And the cool thing this year, all the costumes are like brand new costumes, because they said they had been using the same costume for year after year after year. And so this is the first time I'm seeing the play. I've always wanted to go see the play here. I just haven't had the opportunity. I've seen other plays that haven't seen this one, and so I'm really big, and my boys know this, because you read Percy Jackson and Lightning Thief. Why did you have to read the book? Because what did you want to do first? What did you ask?
Oh.
Could you see what?
Joanna, you know.
What did he want to see first?
He wanted to see the movie.
Right. And I'm really big on, we're not seeing the movie, we're not going to see the play until we read the story. So now
Wait,
we've
but
listed.
I already read the story.
Well, yes. For those at home, he has read all the first five of the Percy Jackson books.
No, only 4.
4, because you're still reading the 5th one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And we haven't sat down and watched the movie, but you will get to watch the movie. And we did a cool thing on Thursday. We went to the Children's Museum, and we got to see a special exhibit. So we went to the Children's Museum, and you had to pay an extra fee to go to the exhibit. But it was about ancient Greece. And there was a part where they actually had actual costumes from the Percy Jackson set that we got to see. So that was super cool. So like I said, read a lot around here in this family. So hopefully, if you haven't read A Christmas Carol, you'll consider it. Even if you are not a fan of Christmas, you're not celebrating Christmas, I think there's a good message in the story. You have Scrooge, who develops as a person over the experiences he has with his business partner Marley coming back, and then seeing his Christmases of the past, present, what's going to happen present day, and what his future is going to be like if he continues to be the way he is. And not only his future, does his actions affect other people?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's another thing that we talked about. Is like, because he was doing these things, because he didn't want to help out people, other people got affected potentially in the future. So that is our book talk today. So this is Barnes Brothers Books talking to you about Christmas Carol. And if you do end up reading or you have read the book, tell us how you feel about it. And we'll see you next time.